Blog Talk Radio.
Out in the street, they call it
Discipleship Radio.
out in the street, they call it
Discipleship Radio.
out in the street, they call it out in the street, they call it
Rastafari, Rastafari, Rastafari.
Now New York must go on themselves down to say fears without no fears and no cares. Who cares? We the ragamuffin. Wilbert! You mother call you, 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 mother call you.
Andenya. Kasenyo iska arb baluta kenoch zawater yemibal. Said on the days from Monday to Friday. Salam lanchi hun in natachin kavrit beta Christian. Gida gadawachish bepazion bin quit yetaget unacho. Salam lanchi hun in natachin kavrit beta Christian. Peace be to you, our mother, O honorable church. Thy walls are embroidered with topaz. Peace, salam, shalom be to thee, our mother, O honorable church.
Princes shall come out of Egypt. Ethiopia shall soon stretch out her hands unto God. Sing unto God, ye kingdoms of the earth. Oh, sing praises unto the Lord. Selah.
You not see yourself as Ethiopia, no Noah. Tell them, you not see yourself as Ethiopia, no Ethiopia, no Ethiopia, no Ethiopia, no Noah. Tell them, you not.
Hear what one Ethiopia, them say them overthrow the emperor. You know hear what one Ethiopia, them say them overthrow the emperor. But he's the king of kings, and you can't conquer the conquering lion of Judah. He is the elect of God, and you can't conquer the conquering lion of Judah. So you can talk, some of them are propaganda. Only make my man hold on stronger. Remembering the days of old, that's how it goes. Old time something come back again. This is the king of kings, and you can't conquer the conquering lion of Judah. He is the elect of God, and you can't conquer the conquering lion of Judah. I say yeah. What a war! Yeah, yeah. What a war! The most ancient language in this world. Start a pretty old and royal family. So said to be older than King George VI. 6,130 years. So you can talk, some of them are propaganda. Only make time and hold on stronger. Remembering the days of old, that's how we go. Full time something, come back again. This is the king of kings, and you can't conquer the conquering lion of Judah. He is the elect of God, and you can't conquer the conquering lion of Judah. I say yeah. What a war, what do we go? Yeah, yeah. What a war, what do we go? Yeah, yeah. What a war.
It is good that you are here to record this picture of me in my palace garden at Addis Ababa. People who see this throughout the world will realize that even in the 20th century, with faith, courage, and a just cause, David will still beat Goliath.
Me say all praises to the only one of Israel, you know. I know for them I wonder what kind of song me a sing or comes me a say Israel. But I show them no overstand, you know. Who overstand just overstand, and who no overstand just overstand. It's what me a say. Cause I know for them I praise the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and them not say Israel. I want them. I shock him more again. Yeah. Give praises to the only one of Israel. Praises. In a corruption, me not go dwell. Alright, praises to the only one of Israel. Praises. In a corruption, me not go dwell. Alright, then. Them I wonder what kind of song they are singing. To me say Israel and I hear the Israel king. And them lock up overstanding. You burn them on them false doctrine. Alright then. When me say Israel, them I wonder and I wonder. Them same one I hear the Lion of Judah, which is one of the 12 tribes of Israel. Run go check it out if you think I lie, me I tell God. When Jacob is visited by an angel, that changed his name from Jacob to Israel. In that place Jacob called Peniel. Run go check it out if you think I lie, me I tell and give praises to the only one of Israel. Praises. In a corruption, me not go dwell. Alright, praises to the only one of Israel. Praises. In a corruption, me not go dwell. Alright then, me have to heal up the conquering lion from the line of King David and Solomon. Burn them folly and them fiction. Tell them to back off with them deception. Little eyes, so no pay attention. Put your in on the meditation. Hail to the most high of creation. Let us rise to this occasion. Yo, and give praises to the only one of Israel. Praises. In a corruption, me not go dwell. Alright, praises to the only one of Israel. Praises. In a corruption, me not go dwell. Alright then, burn them religion and me burn out them lies. Me not go bow to that blue eye guy. This is the truth many try to deny. Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shayan. We have to give thanks and praise to the Most High. Burn the false prophet, the Most High prophesy. In this last days, them not get no blind. That's why me have to shout the high and give praises to the only one of Israel. Praises. In a corruption, me not go dwell. Alright, praises to the only one of Israel. Praises. In a corruption, me not go dwell. Alright, praises to the only one of Israel. Praises.
For another day, Rastafari calling him Jah. Rastafari calling him Jah. Rastafari calling him Jah. אמא שלי אומרת מלך המלכים הביא לרשעים מדברת על בבל.
Are ye not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, O children of Israel?
Rastafari is almighty without no apology.
Ethiopian children, we going on a mission. Forward to the east, that's where we came from. Oh yeah. Ethiopian children, we going on a mission. Forward to the east, that's where we came from. Oh yeah. So small up yourself in the seat, make some space for my brother. Small up yourself in the seat, make some space for my sister. A holy for we get stranded, here in the land of the wicked. A holy for time that wasted, in this strange land that we hated. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Aye, 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 aye. Oh yeah, aye. Singing that in wine. Singing that in wine. Aye, 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 aye. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Aye. Once in a lifetime voyage, happy to escape this bondage. One way ticket, there's no stoppage. So bring away the excess luggage. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hey. Ethiopian children, we going on a mission. Forward to the east, that's where we came from. Oh yeah. Ethiopian children, we going on a mission. Forward to the east, that's where we came from. Oh, yeah. Ethiopian children, going on their mission. Ethiopian children, going on their mission. Aye. So smile up yourself in the place, make some space for your brother. Smile up yourself in the place, make some space for your sister. Oh yeah, oh yeah, hey. A holy for wicked got stranded, here in the land of the wicked. A holy for time got wasted, in a strange land that we hated. Oh yeah, oh yes, oh yeah, oh yes, hey. Ethiopian children, we going on a mission. Forward to the east, that's where we came from. Oh, yeah. Ethiopian children, we going on a mission. Forward to the east, that's where we came from.
Them 400 years. Them 400 years. 400 years, 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 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterward shall they come, 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 afterward shall they come. And they shall afflict them 400 years. Thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, 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 that is not theirs. Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, 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 that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict, and they shall afflict 400 years, 400 years, 400 years, 400 years, 400 years, 400 years, 400 years. And also, are ye not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, O children of Israel? Are ye not as children of the Ethiopians? Are ye not as children of the children of the Ethiopians? Are ye not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, saith the Lord.
Well, they are children of Israel, take heed and listen to the words of the prophet. The wages of sin is death. Now the gift of God is eternal life. The truth is a fact and we all know that. So there's no need to build no strife while there is life against your brothers or sisters or your enemies. There is the book of knowledge, yeah. It's there for those who want to learn truth. Yeah, children of Israel, keep listening. Yeah, they say the other half has not yet been told. Has not yet been told, has not yet been told. Yeah, well, yeah. Come along, baby. Come along now. Ooh, oh, and take it, yeah. Come. There is the book of knowledge, yeah. It's there for those who want to learn the truth. Yeah, children of Israel, take it. Yeah, and listen to the words of the prophet. The wages of sin is death. Now the gift of God is eternal life. The truth is a fact and we all know that. So there's no need to build no strife while there is life against your brother. Ooh, yeah. Ooh. There is a book of knowledge, yeah. It's there for those who want to learn.
With Ethiopia, this man was born there, Babylon, to them that know me. Of Rahab and Babylon, Selah. I will make mention of Rahab and Babylon to them that know me. Behold, Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia. This man was born there, Selah. Selah. I will make mention of Rahab and Babylon to them that know me. Behold, Philistia and Tyre with Ethiopia. This man was born there, Tyre with Ethiopia. This man was born there, with Ethiopia. This man was born there, with Ethiopia. With Ethiopia, with Ethiopia, with Ethiopia. Are ye not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, O children of Israel?
Rastafari, the people shall realize, in Selassie and the earth shall believe. Hey, the world shall see. The love upon his stone where you conquer the people.
Chapter 7. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the son of the matter. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my visions by night, and behold, the four winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night vision, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth, devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. It was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. It had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes, like the eyes of man, and a mouth, speaking great things. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like a fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. 1,000,000 ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake, I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me, and made me know the interpretation of the things. These great beasts, which are 4 kings which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Then I would know the truth of the 4th beast, which was diverse from all the others. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Fiery stream, fiery stream, fiery stream, fiery stream.
Yes. Shalom, Habarim, Daniel. Don't forget Daniel, Daniel's prophecy. The core, the groundation, even for the revelation, Daniel's prophecy, the ancient, even the Ancient of Days. Here.
I saw in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me, and made me know the interpretation of the things. These great beasts, which are 4 kings which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Then I would know the truth of the 4th beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his belly. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them, until until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High. And the time came, the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. And another shall rise after, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times to the dividing of time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion, and the greatness of the kingdom unto the whole heaven, shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominion shall serve and obey him. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitation much troubled me, my countenance changed. But I kept the matter in my heart. Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breasts. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people, to whom he said, this is the rest wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest, and this is the refreshing. Yet they would not hear. But the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little, that they might go and fall backward and be broken and snared and taken. Wherefore hear the word of the Lord, 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 hear the word of the Lord.
Sabbatical study, this I Rastafari sabbatical study for this Shabbat strong, Shabbat strong, Shabbat strong, Shabbat strong, Shabbat strong, Shabbat strong, Shabbat strong.
We're on the second day of the Shabua here, on the Shani day, Senyo and them hard Shani, the second day of the Shabua here. For the Monday podcast on the air, we have today's daily psalm, according to royal order, Psalm 121, going to ride up right here. But from the previous, here we're in the 46th sabbatical study, we still have some very important reasonments from the 45th degree of I sabbatical study for Wa'et Hanan, and I pleaded and I beseech where Moshe, he had begged Yahuwah to rescind the word that he would not enter into the land. He really was begging to enter into the promised land. So here, we pick up with some of the questions. We had let off on some questions, some basic Rastafari sabbatical chat, table talk questions right here. I think we went up to question 26 or so on the second part for the first day service, the Sunday service. So here, before we proceed for continuity purposes here, let's touch on a couple more of these key questions. I'd like to even go over them again, but just once again, let's just start with the first question, and we'll pick up with the 27th question here, so we can catch up and segue here to this 46th sabbatical study here for IKEV. IKEV, some say IKEV. IKEV actually means heel. It can mean on the heels of translated as because of, or like the consequences, right, on the heels of. Like I said, well, that followed right on the heels of that. So as to say, well, that happened because of something else, a consequence. But the literal word in Hebrew, Ikev, right, the Ikev, and also we have Yaakov, it's in the name Yaakov. The heel are also the consequences. So literally, right, in the two truths, the Hebrew two truths, Ikev, literally refers to the heel. Right? But as a verb sense, it can be on the consequence. And then we get Yaakov, Jacob's name, the supplanter, like the heel. We get the heel grabber. Very interesting getting into the Hebraics of it all. But for continuity purposes, picking up on the questions here from Wa'eta Hanan, right? Just to fulfill, because we have some questions here in this ICAP, this 46 sabbatical study. But the key word, Wa'eta Hanan. There's a more ancient pointing with the wa instead of the va. Modern Hebrew, va'et chanan. And I et hanan. Wa and et hanan. This means, and I pleaded. Now this comes from the Hebrew verb hanan. Hanan, the Hebrew verb, that means to beseech or to implore. In a literal sense, it has like to beg for grace. Right, to beg for mercy, O Lord of his mercy, to beg, to beseech for grace, implore. We have hanan as the verb. Now, the root noun is chen. As we have the name, Hebrew name Hannah, or some will be named Hannah or Anna. From the Hebrew, we have the chen. Chen is grace. So, wa'et hanan means, and I sought favor, I sought grace in terms of appealing to Hayel, to the Elohim's grace. Now, in the Judaic liturgy, there's what's called the Tahanun. The Tahanun. What are the Tahanun? Tahanun are the prayers that beg, beseeches for Yahweh, for Yah's grace and mercy. So here from the 45th sabbatical study, he has a segue as we move forward here in this new Shabua with the 46th, right, ICAB. But before that, question 26. Going over question 26 again. What reason did Jah give for the preservation of Jah people? According to Deuteronomy, the previous sabbatical study, Deuteronomy 4:31, what's the reason? He cannot nullify the covenant. So the reason, right, that Jah gave for the preservation of Jah people, for the Beit Yisrael, the Beta Israel people, we look at, ups and downs, mix-up moods, the follies, the undercrowns, and yet, we know that many people have ceased to exist as people, but I people, even coming through these 400 years, have been preserved. So what is Jah's reason for that? According to Deuteronomy, Deuteronomy 4:31, the reason is that Yahweh, he who be, Hakadosh, Baruch Hashem, the Holy One, blessed be he, blessed be the name. He cannot nullify, and will not nullify Habrit, the covenant that he swore to the Hebrew patriarchal trinity of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. Now note that this refers to what's called the Abrahamic covenant, and not the Sinai covenant. The Beta Israel's preservation is guaranteed by Jah's promises, his yea, his amen, to the patriarch. So when we go through the Torah, the scripts, he says that he swore by his own self, right? And even in the Hebrew sense, or translated English sense, that's deep if you understand the context, by his own self, by his own being, upon his own being. And what is the Hashem? Yahweh, he who be, who he be, he who was, who he was, he who is, who he is, he who will be, who he be. So therefore there in the Hebrew, right, in the Hebrew, the verbal flow, we have even Trinity, right, in the enunciation, what the name brings out. But we bring forward here, he who be, he who becomes, who he becomes. So he swore upon his own self. And this is one of the reasons that Jah gave for the preservation of the Beta Israel. Like he says, it was not for our goodness. It was not, because we were the most. It was not for any merit on I part. Question 27 here from Shabbat Wa'et Hanan. What rhetorical question did Jah want Jah people to ask? There's a particular rhetorical question, right, in the 45th sabbatical study, and particularly in Deuteronomy chapter 4, verses 32 to 34. What rhetorical question did Jah seek for Jah people to ask? Question. The question is, what other nation had been rescued from bondage by such great signs and wonders in order for the sole purpose and reason to Shema'ah, to hear the voice, to hear the voca, to hear the voice of he who be, who he be, to hear the voice of Yahweh. What other nation? So Jah sought for Jah people to ask that question. What other nation had been rescued, delivered from bondage by such great signs and wonders? If ones and ones can see, you can even see what's happening in the latter days and times of this Gentile world system, world flesh, and satanic decorum. The great signs, you know, the handwriting on the wall, proverbially speaking, Daniel, prophecy, the wonders. But the purpose here is in order that Jah people would hear his voice. So it's so to say that according to the word, the narrative, that Jah did all of this so that Jah people would hear Abba Father's voice.
My advice to all is to fulfill the Ten Commandments.
You heard? Shema Yisrael. Shema Rastafari.
You are aware of the contents of the Ten Commandments and can elaborate on.
All right. We're of the 10 words, the 10 commandments. Let's elaborate. Question 28 here from the RSS from Shabbat. Wa'et Hanan. Why did Yah deliver Jah people from Mitzrayim, from the head carpenter, Egypt, Egypt, or Kemet, if you please, according to Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 35? Why did Jah deliver Jah people from the bondage, from the captivity? Well, according to the word, that they might know, that they might da'at, have a gnosis, right? Not believe, not even have faith, not even, guess or hope for, but that they might da'at, that they might yada, 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 that they might know that Yahweh, that he who be, who he be, that he is the Elohim. And there is none other power. He be the nature of natures. And there is none other nature, none other power beside him. And this is expressed in the Hebrew in a phrase right here, call it the Ein Od Milvado, or in modern Hebrew, Ein Od Milvado. Ein Od Milvado. Modern Hebrew, Ein Od Milvado. Ein Od Milvado. Ein Od Milvado. There is none other beside him. Elohim did this because he loved the patriarchs, especially the Trinity, to the Hebrew Trinity of patriarchs, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And uniquely, in a very unique way, right, chose their offspring, their seed, their race because of them. So therefore, even when we say we be who we be, right, is because of he who be who he be, his first choice, and particularly because of the Hebrew Trinity of the patriarchs, and as well as the matriarchs, but definitely because of the patriarchs. In that word, we have the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, of Yitzhak, the Elohim of Yaakov. Yes, Rastafari. So we're Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27. Now, there's a tune that sometimes we play. We share this tune right here, just to give ones a quick ear, right? The Ein Od Milvado, right? Milvado in the modern plane. There is none other, right? There is none other. This kind of goes along with the true Hebrew theology that there's no divination, witchcraft, enchantment against Yisrael, covenantally speaking in the covenant. Here's the tune.
malvado en un salvador.
It's a word of power right there. It's a mantra, word of power has been testified to counteract, obia, bad mind, a lot of other things and ting, because it's affirming that there's no other power. In other words, like those pictures you see where it's like they have like a so-called Kaiser Borgia kind of, so-called Jesus Christ, the Antichrist, Jesus Christ image wrestling with a pseudo Satan or devil, like they're wrestling. There's two powers, that good and evil fighting back and forth. So which power you're on the side of which power? That's all nonsense, I when we express Ain Od Malvado. There is no other. Beside he who he be, there's no other power. So therefore, for protection, for overcoming, we go directly to the boss. We go directly to the source. So here, question 29. Why did Jah, quote, discipline Ha'am? Why he disciplined Jah people, the Israelite people? According to Deuteronomy, right? Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 36. Why did Yah discipline Jah people? Well, there's a verse that reads, out of heaven he made you to hear his voice, his voca, that he might discipline you. Right, disciple you, that he might discipline you, according to Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 36. Now, the verb in the Hebrew discipline, right, the verb here is yasar, not yashar, different letter, Hebrew letter, different enunciation, yasar, right? So we have the samek instead of the sheen, right? Yasar. That he might discipline. Now, from this, we get the word also in Hebrew and in the manuscripts, musar, discipline, correction, ethical instruction, so forth and so on, especially in the Proverbs, the book of wisdom. There's some of the key words. The musar is that correction, that discipline, right? Can also be chastisement, right? In a sense, that correction, ethical instruction. It is a word used to describe the instruction that a good father, a good Ab, would give his son regarding moral cause and effect, right? Genuine morality, genuine moral cause and effect. We can call this a Hebrew karma, right? And the spiritual, the iritical truth, the ha-emet. Question 30. Why are the Yehudi, even we, the black Jews of the line of the tribe of Judah, other Jews, and the Beta Israel, right, called the chosen people? Why are the Beit Yisrael, the Beta Israel, the Yehudi, called the chosen people? Well, according to Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 37 to 38, is where we go for the answer. Based on the first quote, he loved your patriarchs, your fathers, the righteous patriarchs, and chose their offspring, chose their seed, their race, after them. So we get in the Hebrew the phrase Yivhar Bizar'o Aharav. Modern Hebrew, ancient pointing, Yivhar Bizar'o Aharayo, and chose, Yivhar chose, Bizar'o, the seed, Aharayo, after him, after them, and brought you Mitzrayim out of Egypta, Hetkapata, Egypt, Kemen, if you please, with his own presence, with his own face, with his own POV, his own point of view, by his great power. Question 31. What are we to know? Now, the key word, the operative word, of course, is the verb, right? What are we to know? Not to believe, not to assume, to guess, have faith. Not that you cannot do that as well, but according to Jah word, what are we to know in our heart? Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 39 and verse 40 says this: we're to know that Yahweh, he who be, that he is the El, the power, the Elohim, the true good, the true God, that he is the power in Shemayim, in the heavens above and on the Aretz and on the earthly plain beneath. There is no other. Ain Od, there is none other, and therefore we, I and I, must obey his mitzvot, his imperatives, his commandments. Question 32. How many cities of refuge were set apart east of the Yarden, the Jordan? According to Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 41 to 43, 3 cities. They are safe haven. They are like sanctuary cities for those who are accused of manslaughter, so that the Goel Hadam, so that the avenger of blood, the relative or near relation, does not dead them on sight, right? Until there can be a trial and a jury, of the matter and of the case. And if they are judged to be, was not willful manslaughter, they did not hold hatred, talk bad or have hatred against a person, that they claim that the death of that person was accidental. If they are charged with manslaughter and not murder, then this is one of the cities, the sanctuary cities, that they can flee from the avenger of blood, the Goel Hadam. Right now, conversing vis-a-vis, well, of course, is differently this avenger of blood that has the primary responsibility of, you could say, on sighting, but really, of taking care of that. It's an interesting ancient precept, and we can see that HaTorah is regulating what was an ancient precept, among all people. Like if somebody in one's family close to them, was killed, whether it was accident or purpose, like, how people are, like, it doesn't matter. But the Torah here is regulating that so that there may be righteous judgment. Question 33. What does the word Torah mean, Chaverim? Now, here we get the Deuteronomy. Here we get the Judaic, the Jewish 444. I mentioned this before with Jay-Z and that album he did, the 444, and how there was some controversy or some controversy around it. People were alleging this is anti-Semitic and why he's doing this. And a lot of the Yehudi and Yehudim, many ones got kind of up, so to speak, or they were made to get up in arms about it. But it was never really made clear to the public. We noticed, the 444, that was still kept as a confidential or secret among the Yehudim. We, ethnic Israel, black Israel, and also other Yehudim. But here is the core of it in Deuteronomy, the repetition of the law, Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 44. So here, question, 33rd question, what does the word Torah mean? Reference Deuteronomy 4:44 to Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 44 to verse 45. The word Torah, it means instruction. And a teacher is called a more, or in the sense of a woman, a morah, right? In that sense. But these are 2 forms here, usually for the man, but then woman is the first teacher, of the children, even in the womb. Now, this is a general word that encompasses testimonies. So in the Hebrew, the testimonies is called the edot, or some would enunciate that as edot, the edot or the edot. The edot are the testimonies, the statutes are the chukim, and the rules are the mishpatim, right? The mishpatim. Now, there's the phrase, right? There is a particular phrase, right, that is used, right, in the Torah service, and this particular phrase from 444, Wizot HaTorah, right, Asher Sam Moshe Lifnei B'nai Yisrael. This is the phrase. The phrase is Wizot, and this Zot here, according to the Hebrew, is this in the feminine sense. And this, Wizot, or modern Hebrew, Vizot HaTorah, with and Zot, and this, she, HaTorah. So the Torah is like the mother. This is why Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8, Shlomo HaMelech, he brings out, my son, my child, my disciple, hear the instruction of thy father, forsake not the law or HaTorah, the Torah of thy mother. So the Torah, yes, is she. Right, brings a new sense to if sin is like fuckery, then who is the real mother ucker in that sense? But with Zot HaTorah, right, and this Torah, Asher, that which Psalm, Asher, Psalm, that which Psalm is like to set, to place, to set something. Psalm, right? Psalm Moshe, that Moses set, lifnei, in the face of, before the presence of, before, in the face, in the presence of Bnei Yisrael, of the sons of Yisrael, translation, the children of Israel, directly the sons of Israel. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei Bnei Yisrael. And this Torah, this is the Torah that Moses set before the sons, the children of Yisrael. Question 34. Is the Sinai covenant the same as what is called the Abrahamic covenant? Reference Deuteronomy chapter 5, verses 1 to 5. Remember right here, the Deuteronomy is also known as the Mishnah HaTorah. That's where we get Deuteronomy from in the Koine Greek, from what's in actually the Hebrew Deuteronomy. And Mishnah is a copy or the repetition, right? The repetition of HaTorah. So here, the 34th question, is the Sinai covenant the same as the Abrahamic covenant? Point of reference, Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 1 to 5. Is it the same? No. Simply put, no. The Sinai covenant was made according to the script, quote, not with our fathers. And when we say our fathers, we're speaking of the patriarchs, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, that this covenant was not made with our patriarchs, but with us, with I and I. So even here in the Torah, we have a new generation. They are the children of the previous generation that Jah brought out of Mitzrayim, out of Kemet, right? But he was not pleased with them, with the murmuring, the grumbling, the bitching, the moaning, the complaining. And then finally they slandered the good land. They slandered the Tovia, right? The good land. And therefore they wandered. And now there's a new generation. So a little bit of a generation gap here, a new generation is being spoken to. So the Sinai covenant, right, after the Exodus was not made with our patriarchs, but with I and I, namely with the remnant of that Exodus generation, with the remnant. So we have with the children of the generation that came out. So it's an interesting principle that's often pointed to, that those who he brought out of, because they bondage out of the situation, he was not pleased with them and they were not ready to enter into the promise. It's an interesting principle in a sense. He delivered them out of what they was going through, right? But was not able to bring, well, not that he was not able, but he chose not to bring them in, right? Because of their testing and tempting and their lack of emunah, their lack of admittance. And besides, they wanted to go back to Kemet. You know what I mean? So question 35. Question 35 right here. Can we list in order the 10 commandments according to Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 5, verses 6 to 21? Can we list the 10 commandments? So here, let's do this right here, brothers and sisters and brothers. Let's actually play one of the audibles. And usually the 10 commandments, if you go like online and you look up the Hebrew 10 commandments, sometimes they'll have these kind of like models of like 2 tablets and everything. And they'll have some Hebrew words on it, you know, and those Hebrew words refer to, we say, the main 10. You know, the 10 words, not the full of what is written, right, within HaTorah, but the epicenter of the word, the main part of the command. Like, for example, the 4th commandment, which is the Sabbath commandment, right? That 4th command, basically, it says, you know, the main part of it says to observe, to keep the Sabbath set apart, holy, right? But then, hold on, right here, something knocked down. But then when you look at the full of it, right? The fuller commandment says 6 days thou shalt work and do all your labor. So it's basically a work and a rest, a balance. But here, the 10 words in the Hebrew, the epicenter, the main.
Anochi Adonai Elohecha, lo yiyeh lecha Elohim acherim al panai, lo tisa et shem Adonai Elohecha lashav, zachor et yom hashabbat lekaddesho, kabbed et avicha ve'et immecha, lo tirtzach, לא תנאף, לא תגנוב, לא תענה ורעך עד שקר, לא תחמוד בית רעך.
Now you remember the words, you heard the words of His Majesty, my advice to all. He was asked, interestingly enough, it's just like this area of scripts and the Torah, when Matthew was asked, what advice will you give to young people, right? And then he says, not just to young people, but to all, right, is to fulfill the 10 words, the 10 commandments. So let's list the 10 words, right? The epicenter of the 10 words known as the 10 commandments in order. The first is Anoki, Yahuwah Eloheka, I am, he who be, thy Elohim. That is the first commandment is acknowledgement of he who be, I Elohim. Second commandment is no other Elohim or idols, right, before he who be. No other Elohims before he who be, and not to make any idols, right, of he who be. Third commandment, no to the name in vain. There's no name in vain. The Hashem is not to be said in vain. The Yahweh, hey Yahweh, he who be, is not to be said in vain. And it's one of the reasons why among many different Yehudi communities, and even I at times, we would refer to the Hashem. Hashem is to say the name. Some might refer to Adonai, Adonai, which is to appeal to he who be on the mercy side of the ledger, right? Fourth command is to keep the Shabbat. Fifth commandment is to honor mother and father, right? Honor father and mother, to honor one's parents. The sixth commandment is no murder. The seventh commandment is no adultery. The eighth commandment is no stealing, right? The ninth commandment is no false oath. The 10th commandment is no coveting, no desiring to have something that you know you have no right to have. Other people's property, other people's things. So once again, the 10 words again, or the 10 commandments, the first command, and this is what separates the Yehudi or the Hebrew, the Beta Israel reading of the Hebrew from other people's. Because if you look in other ones, they might start out, with the second command as the first commandment, right? But for I, it's the first commandment is Anoki, right? I am Yahuwah Eloheka. We are to acknowledge that he who be is our Elohim. Second, no other Elohim, the Elohim Acharim, other people's Elohim's constructs or ideas, so forth and so on, or no idols, no graven images. Third commandment, no to the name in vain, not to say the Hashem, the Yahweh in vain, in vanity, right? Which command we had here to keep the Shabbat, fourth commandment. Fifth commandment to honor one's parents, right? Father and mother. Sixth commandment, no murder. And there's a difference in the Hebrew between murder and killing. We want to point that out. I know a lot of people say, that's like, they trying to get over. Listen, it's our Hebrew thing. You know what I mean? So who should know what our thing is? You know what I mean? And this is why we have to learn it the right way. So no murder, the sixth. Seventh, no adulteration. Eighth, no stealing. 9, no false oath. And 10, no coveting. No covetousness.
Anochi Adonai Elohecha, lo yiyeh lecha Elohim acherim al panai. Lo tisa et shem Adonai Elohecha lashav. זכור את יום השבת לקדשו, כבד את אביך ואת אמך, לא תרצח, לא תנאף, לא תגנוב, לא תענה ורעך עד שקר, לא תחמוד בית רעך.
Next, right here, 36. Did Jah directly speak other words? We know that Yahweh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Baruch Hashem, the Holy One, blessed be He, blessed be the name, that He spoke the 10 words, the Aseret HaDebarim, the 10 words that's often called, somewhat erroneously, 10 commandments. From a Hebrew perspective, we know it as one command, but it has 10 articles or 10 words. But were there any other words, any other Debarim that He spoke directly to the people at Sinai, according to Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 22? No. So here is where you'll find elsewhere in the scripts where it says, and you heard his voice, and y'all heard his voice speak from the mount, that he who be spoke to the people, and this is where in not Deuteronomy, you go back to Exodus chapter 20. When you go back to Exodus chapter 20, the people were afraid. They pulled back from the dark cloud. And Moshe was ready to enter in. He said, come on, let's go in there. And they were afraid. And they basically said, Moses, you be our mediator. So in the new covenant sense, we have Rabbeinu Yeshua as a mediator of the new covenant. And in the Exodus was where they asked, Exodus chapter 20, because he was afraid. They said, if we hear Yahweh's voice anymore, we're going to die. You know, like let him speak to you, whatever he says to you, then you tell us. And, you know, we will do all that, you know, he says, you know, and we will be obedient and we will hear. So here. Question 37. When Jah people heard the voice of Elohim, what did they do? According to Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 23 to 27. Now, remember, Moses here is giving, I think he has three farewell addresses. He's just taking care of business. It said that Deuteronomy begins about like 37 days or so before Moshe's birthday, which is also his death day. How interesting the proverb of the Mashal that says better is a man's, you know, death day than his birthday. You know, it's interesting because here Moshe, right, actually is having both of these happen at one time right here. So he's giving his farewell address, you know what I mean, to his people and to a new generation of his people. He's talking about what their fathers had done and the reason why they have this privilege and opportunity that their forefathers, their immediate forefathers, did not get, and trying to basically say, you know, learn from them, do better than them, right? So when the people heard the voice, what did they do? They grew fearful, as we mentioned, and they asked Moshe to be their mediator, Lifnei Elohim. In other words, like people say, well, why have to go to a priest or I have to go to somebody, so forth and so on. But when the people, Jah people, when the Beit Yisrael, when the Bnei Yisrael heard his voice, right, that generation heard his voice, they were scared when they had to actually, you know, come up into his presence, you know, and be in the presence of his voice and to hear those 10 words, right? They could barely hear the 10 words, but the 10 words are the words that Jehovah spoke directly to the people, which is very interesting for I and I. I have a new name, precious name, I and I, called Children of Faithful Rastafari, the teaching of Kedamawi Haile Selassie, that he puts emphasis, right, on the 10 commandments, on the 10 words as well. Question 38. Was Jah angry that the people wanted Moshe to be their mediator? According to Moses' testimony in Deuteronomy 5:28, was he angry? No, he was not angry. In fact, he had said that their request was a righteous act. It was righteous. And he praised their heart's intent, which is a very interesting medi and a reasonment here. Also referred to Deuteronomy chapter 5, same chapter, the next verse, verse 29. Question 39. What other revelation did Moses receive at Har Sinai, at Mount Sinai? Well, according to Deuteronomy 5:31, Moshe was to Kabbalah, to receive, quote, all the commandment and statutes and rules. Now, in the Hebrew, this is known as call. Call is all call. Ha-mitzvah. Now, it's interesting because here it says ha-mitzvah. In some translation, there might be like all the commandments. But here in the Hebrew, it's call ha-mitzvah. Or modern Hebrew, call ha-mitzvah. Call ha-mitzvah. All the mitzvah, right? All the commandment. And from the Hebrew perspective, we know that when he says the commandment, he is speaking about the 10 words, right? Those 10 words, Esoret HaDebarim. We'ha-hukim, or modern Hebrew, Veha-hukim, and the hukim, and the statutes, right? Or ordinances. Ha-mishpatim, and the mishpatim, the judgments, the rules, right, that in many cases have judgments. So they're often translated as judgments. That is an explanation of the meaning, right, of the 10 words, the Esoret HaDebarim, as well as additional Torot Torah, directions, instructions for the Beit Israel, for the Beit Yisrael. Question 40. What is the central commandment of all the Torah? What is the central commandment of all Kol HaTorah? According to Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 1 to 9, to reverence, to respect, to reverence he who be, we be. KJV often has to fear, but fear has, according to the context, a different sense, right? Hebraically, to reverence, right? To reverence he who be, we be, to keep, to guard, to hedge about, right? Torotav, his laws, his direction, instructions, all the days of your life, to hear, to Shema'ah, to do, to hear and to do the commandments, and most especially to love he who be, we be, Yahweh, with all I heart and soul and muchness, right? Muchness, me'odeka. It's interesting because the word me'od means like very, very. Like if we say something's good, or might say tov, like it's good. If you say tov me'od, right, very good, right? As he who be said, on the day that we say he created man in his image after his likeness, male and female, and he created them. He said that day was not just tov, this good, he said tov me'od. It was very good. So me'od in the commandment connected to the Shema, it has me'odeka, called me'odeka. So me'odeka is often translated, right? How do you bring out the translation in the English? For your heart, your soul, or your might. It says your might. But it's not really, Hebraically, we have a few words for strength, power, energy, currency, current, But that word right there is me'od. Me'od basically means much. So more directly, Hebraically, right, we would say muchness, me'odeka. So of all your muchness, that means of all your physical strength, right? And also of all your strength of your wealth as well. That's where Rabbeinu Yeshua said you cannot serve Elohim and Mammon. You want to know what the solution is? Solution is to serve Elohim with your mammon, with your me'odeka, with your muchness, your enoughness. Also referred to Deuteronomy chapter 11, verses 18 to 20. It's connected with this theme right here, Chabarim. Question 41. What is the Shema? Right? What is the Shema? Now, ones are familiar with this, but would like to just re-familiarize ones again right here. Question. Here's the question.
Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel. What does Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad? Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel. The Lord, our God, the Lord is one. What does that really mean? And why is it important?
Okay, here. This is connected with the Shema in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. And verse 5, where it says, and thou shalt love Jehovah thy Elohim with all thy heart and with all thy soul and with all thy might. V'ahavta et Yahweh Eloheka b'kol levaveka u'b'kol nafsheka u'b'kol me'odeka. So that me'odeka, me'od is like to say very, like enough, like very, like good, tov me'od, very good. Not just tov, good, but tov me'od. So muchness. So with the love he who we be with all of our heart, to say like our mind, our emotions, our soul, and our muchness, that which we possess in our fire cycle, our carbon, korban, organic structure, our physical, we say our fire cycle strength, right? Our strength of body, and also with that which we possess with our hand, right? Our strength of wealth. So what is the Shema? The Shema is a 3-in-1 prayer. Once again, we say the true Trinity is the Hebrew Trinity, right? The Shema, the Hebrew Shema, is a 3-in-1 prayer, a 3-in-1 tefillah. The name of Elohim, right? It appears three names, right? You can say the 3 names in the 6 primary words and the Shema, and it's Barakot, the blessings, is composed of three separate portions. So there's three separate portions. Hebraically, we call this ve'ahavta, ve'ahavta, and the I, male, shall love. Ve'haya, ve'haya, right? And it shall be, right? Vayomer, vayomer, right? And he said, and it said, right? And it said. So here we get a 3-in-1 prayer in the fullness of the Shema. And the Shema, mainly from Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 9. That's the central area. But the key, you say, article of faith is here, O Yisrael, right? Hashem is our Elohim. Hashem, the name, he who be, Echad. Question 42. What does the idea of Achdut, something we know as in the Hebrew Achdut, it kind of corresponds in a sense as we get to the etymology with Tawahido. We say Tawahido, right, in the true church, in the professing church, that he who has the key of great King David church, right, the church of brotherly love, the church of his majesty. We have Tawahido, right, that oneness. In the Hebrew, from Ahad, right, we have Achdut. Achdut, Achdut. What is Achdut? Oneness. What does the idea of oneness mean to you, right? Well, here, right? Here, Achdut, right? Because Elohim, because Yahweh Echad, because he who be is the one, Echad. We have Echad here, not Yahid. Now, not to get long into this right here, Maimonides, Spanish, maybe Moreno, Yehudi, Sage, wrote some very interesting books. I would advise ones as they mature, to study it. Guide to the Perplexed by Maimonides. They call him the Rambam, amongst certain areas of Orthodox Judaism. But he came forward with this idea of the Yahid. Yahid actually refers to the Son, Yeshua. When it says in the Gospels that he is the only begotten, the Hebrew of that is Yahid. Yahid is almost like the one and only in that sense. While we have Echad, Echad is the one. So we have Echad, not Yahid. The very great commandment is to become one with him in love. This is the very great commandment, to become one with him in love. To hear, O Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. And therefore you shall love Yahweh, he who be. The call levaveka, the call in all lebabeka, with all your lebab, with all your heart, right? With all your heart, the call nafsheka, and with all your nefesh, all your soul, your psyche, the call meodeka, and with all your enoughness, with all your muchness, so that you are part of his unity, his unity, his unity, right, in love. And here we can even see within the Berit Chadash, this brought out even in John's Gospel, chapter 17, verse 11, and verses 22 to 23. Question 43. How important is education of children to Yahweh, to Yah? How important is the education of children, sons and daughters, to Jehovah? According to Devarim, Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 7, it is vital. It's a necessity. We say it's a monacity, right? It's a monacity. And it's part of the central commandment of Ha-Torah. It's part of the central commandment of the Torah, where it reads, and you shall teach them diligently to your children. Right? Vishinantam. And remember, shanan means to sharpen. It means like to sharpen, like to wet, like you wet a sword. Right? But it also can mean to teach. To teach it on point. You shall teach them diligently to your children. Right? The Hebrew here, right, with shinantam libaneka, literally directly means, and sharpen them for your sons. Sharpen them for your sons. Vishinantam lebaveka, or vishinantam levaveka. This implies inculcation, repeating over and over again. It's like if you're sharpening something. You ever sharpen something and you have to go over and over, in that same motion, over and over until it's well sharp. Sharpening it to your children. Deuteronomy chapter 11, verses 18 to 20, as a companion follow-up. Question 44. What is the totafot? That which is called the totafot. What is the totafot? The totafot in Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 8, the totafot. They are basically 4 compartments. 4 compartments thought to refer to the 4 boxes in the head tefillin. The head tefillin, according to some of the ancient Talmud and the ancient teaching, right? The phylacteries, they're otherwise called. The totafot is usually translated as frontlets. Usually in the English, translated as frontlets, as bands, or in the later translations as phylacteries. Even in the New Testament, we have Rabbeinu Yeshua mentioning them, right? Phylacteries into the English, the totafot. Another way of looking at it, between thine eyes, right, is the first eye, right? What they call the third eye, the first eye, right? To have it there, right? There. Question 45. What is a mezuzah? Deuteronomy 6 and 9, a mezuzah. A mezuzah is, well, first of all, mezuzah in the Hebrew means like the doorpost, right? It refers to doorpost, mezuzot, right? But a mezuzah is a kosher scroll that's inscribed with Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 9, as well as Deuteronomy chapter 11, verses 13 to 21. So what is a mezuzah? You might see in some Orthodox Yehudi, homes, before you go in there, you see ones going to a Yehudi home, there'd be like a mezuzah, right? On one side of, you could say, the doorpost or the doorway, and they'll put their hands there, maybe say a word, a baraka, and they will enter in. That is the mezuzah. So the doorpost. And this comes out of what we have in the great commandment, the central command of HaTorah, the Shema command. And here we have it in Deuteronomy chapter 6 at verse 9. So the mezuzah is a kosher scroll that's inscribed with Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 4 to 9 in the Hebrew, and Deuteronomy chapter 11, verses 13 to 21. And this is rolled up and inserted in a decorative case. The case is then affixed to a doorway in fulfillment of the mitzvah of the command given in Devarim, Deuteronomy 6 and 9, as well as 11 and 20, where it reads, and ye shall write them upon the doorposts, the mezuzot of your house and upon your gates. Question 46. When your child, and in the Hebrew, it's more directly when your son, right? When your child asks about what all the commandments, the statutes, the ordinances, the rules, and the judgments mean, what are you, my father? What are you to say, father, daddy? Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 20 to 24, this is what we are to say. So when our youth would ask us, okay, they see I and I, right? So that means that, the education, the cycle of education, the responsibility, especially of fathers, right, in the family, and fathers for the family, in particular, fathers' instruction to the sons, because, the daughters, having good fathers also will instruct the daughters. But here primarily is speaking to the sons. We are to say the avadim hayino. Avadim hayino. Modern Hebrew, abadim. The abadim hayino. We were bondmen. Some bring it out as we are slaves, but the word slave is a latter day. It's a COINTELPRO. It's a mantra. It's a spell. The word really is abadim, which means servants. Abadim hayino. We were servants. In verses 6, chapter 6, verses 21 to 24. This is what we are to say. This is part of the traditional Pesach Haggadah, right? This is part of the traditional Passover Haggadah. And the Haggadah comes from the Hebrew word Hagid. Hagad means to tell, to narrate, to narrate or to relate, to narrate, right? So the Haggadah is like the narrative, the narration for the Pesach, for the Passover. So Deuteronomy chapter 6, verses 21, verses 21 to 24, just to get this right here and just go through this right here, 21 to 24, the section that reads in the Hebrew, it says, V'amarta levinka, you are to say to your son, speaking to all men as one man, so every man is to do this, V'amarta lebinka, binka, to your son, Ibadim hayino, bondmen we were le Pharaoh de Mitzrayim. Ebadim hayinu le Pharaoh de Mitzrayim. We were bondmen to Pharaoh, to Pharaoh, to the great house in Mitzrayim, in Egypt. And Yahweh brought I and I out of Egypt, out of Mitzrayim with a mighty hand. Vayotzienu Yahuwah mi Mitzrayim b'yad chazaka, b'yad, by yad, a hand, chazaka, b'yad chazaka, by a strong hand, a vigorous hand, by a mighty hand. And Jehovah showed signs and wonders great and sore upon Mitzrayim, upon Paro, the great house of Mitzrayim, and upon all his house before our eyes. And he brought us out from there, that he might bring us in, to give us the land that he swore to our fathers, our patriarchs. And Yahweh, he who be commanded I and I to do all these statutes, these ordinances, and to reverence Yahweh Eloheinu, he who be our Elohim, for our good always. Litov lanu, lit for of tov, good, lanu, for us, of good for us. What I'm translation as for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. That he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. Call ha yamim, all the day. Call ha yamim, all the days. Le hayoteno, that we live, right? Ka hayom hazeh, kayom hazeh, like the day, the this, like it is this day. So this is what we are to say. The fathers are to say to the sons, the fathers are to say to the children, if they are curious as to why are we keeping, this Torah direction instruction. What is the meaning of keeping the feast, the holy days? Question 47. Why are the Bnei Yisrael, the sons of Israel, can we list, question 47, can we list the 7 Canaanite nations that were to be, quote, devoted to complete destruction according to Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 1 to 3? Now, this number 7 nations, even in the Keber and the Gas, it mentions these seven nations. As we bring it forward to Brit Chadasha sense, is bringing out even the 7 heads, of the beast in that sense. But here, the 7 nations of the Anu were the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. All nations steeped right in, is said to be the occult, right, and led by the powers of disillumination to spuriously occupy the land in a vain attempt to thwart God's plans. Now, what's interesting is this: people say, well, the Canaanites, the Hebrews got Yahweh and all of this from the Canaanites. But then notice something: their Yahweh or their Elohim are idols of gold. Remember what God tells us in the commandment: don't do like the other people did. Like they did to me, don't you do. If you do like them, I'm going to do to you what I'm having you do to them. So check, it's like the landlord. I use a landlord example. Somebody is Jah, the earth is Jehovah's and all of her fullness. So he's the landlord. So if you have a piece of property and you give it to someone and you give them on some conditions to show that's not unconditional in that sense, you give conditions and they keep violating that, right? You will evict them. And then if you have a new tenant, you say, listen, this last tenant, oh man, they did this and this and this and this. Please don't do those things. And then the new tenants do the same thing. What are you going to do? Right? So to put it in perspective. Question 48. Why were the Israelites forbidden to marry members of these nations? That should be obvious, but why were they forbidden to marry members of these nations? And let's say it like this, members of these nations at this time, because some people tell you, oh, look, in the time of Moses and the Israelites going in the land, they were told not to marry these Canaanites. But then look at Jacob and look at his sons and Judah and other ones. Well, okay, you can look at that, but notice it's a different time. What we could have done 50 years ago, we can't do today. How some people might have been, a little more better 50 years, 100 years ago is not the same today. Times change. So this is the context here. But the question, why were they forbidden to marry members of these particular nations? Because they would turn away the people from following Jehovah by encouraging them to tolerate idolatry or tolerate that which Jah said, no, don't do. You know how it goes. We'll make concession. Oh, well, they're family. Well, it's different for them. And, before you know it, it'll be different for you. And before you know it, you'll be in exile. Oh, that's what happened to us. Question 49, right? What were the Israelites to do with the artifacts? The artifacts from these cults. Some might call them cultures, but from these cults. These occult cults. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 5, they were commanded to utterly destroy all trace of their idolatry and culture, right? And all these cults, right? Two more questions here just to sum up on this part of it, the questions. 50 and 51. Question 50. Why did Jah choose Jah people and set his love upon them? Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 6 to 8. Why? Jah chose them, I, to be Am Segula. The Hebrew expression is Am Segula, a treasured people. The sense in the Hebrew is like a treasured people. Some of the translators, I think King James said the peculiar people. I think the translator, the peculiar people. But in the Hebrew, Am, people, Segula, like a treasured, like a value, like something you treasure. You're not going to put it just anywhere. You're not going to just let anything, you try to treasure it. A treasured people among the nations, other nations. There was a call. They were being called out because of their patriarch. A call to set apartness was meant to make them to be a light and illumination to the other nations. An example of the kavod of Elohim, of Elohim, of the true good, the true God, the nature of natures. Elohim chose them because he loves them. He chose I because of his love and is keeping the oath that he made, right, to the Beta Israel, to the patriarchs, the righteous patriarchs. Likewise, Jah chose you because he loves you. Even in the Brit Chadash, we have 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 9 to 10. If you sense his presence, his face, his perception, his point of view, right, or hear his call, you are his. And he seeks you to be in relationship, right? Relationship with him. And through that relationship, he will reveal revelation. Revelation reveals the truth. Your hunger, right? That iritical, the psycho-iritical hunger for love, right? That we have generally as human beings is a call of our blameless creator, right? In I hearts, heartically speaking. Question 51. What is in store for those who hate Jehovah? How much time do we have? Well, Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 9 to 11, right? What is in store for those who hate Jehovah? Well, according to Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 9 to 11, he will, quote, repay to the face, right? Basically, it's like we say, we say a lot of times, in the streets, like on site, or it has been said. It has been said of those of past and even some of present times, it is on site, right? So it's like, say, repay to the face. The Hebrew sense is like, when I see you, when we meet, those who hate him. By doing what? To destroy them, to downstroy them, to deconstruct them. He will not be slack with one who hates him. He will repay him to his face. So Jah says that, when time is ripe and ready, he will reap them, right, to their face. And this reminds I and I right here, of this word we have right here, you know?
Let God arise, let his enemies be scattered. Let them also that hate him flee before him. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away. As wax melteth before the fire, so let the wicked perish at the presence of God. But let the righteous be glad, let them rejoice before God. Yea, let them exceedingly rejoice. Sing unto God, sing praises to his name. Extol him that rideth upon the heavens by his name, Yah, 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 and rejoice before him. A father of the fatherless, and a judge of the widows is God in his holy habitation. God setteth the solitary in families. He bringeth out those which are bound with chains, but the rebellious dwell in a dry land.
Oh, that explains the drought in Ethiopia near the fulfillment of the revelation of the King of Kings. Yeah, that right there, that word, rebellious dwell in dry land. That's why His Majesty said to them, who causes like drought or famine? Is it God or is it man? So they was blaming him. He asked them, well, who causes famine? You know what I mean? The dryness of the land. I mean, you see it's a drought. Are you blaming I for that as well? But here for this sabbatical study right here, to start to get to those questions so we start to pick up on this 46 sabbatical study for ICAB right here.
Sabbatical study, this I and I Rastafari sabbatical study for this Shabbat strong. Shabbat strong. Shabbat strong. Shabbat strong. Shabbat strong. Shabbat strong. Shabbat strong.
Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Would us keep his commandments or no? Shema, here, give ear, fifth book of Moses, Hebrew book that's called Deuteronomy. Shalom, Chabarim, Shabbat Shalom. Shalom, Chabarim, and here. Give ear, Shema, give ear right here. For the 46 Rastafari sabbatical study for this Shabbat strong. Here. The third reading here in the fifth and final book of HaTorah, God's direction, instruction, and here for this 46 Rastafari sabbatical study, picking up with the promise of victory. Here, picking up in the fifth book, known as Deuteronomy, in chapter 7, at verse 12, the promise of victory. And here for the Rishon Aliyah, for the first reading, the first up offering up. Here for this Shabbat Aikeb, Sendet and Dihim Yehonal, Shema, Gevir, B'Shem Ha'ab, Habain, Ruach Kadosh, Yahweh Echad, in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit, He who He be, the one. And here, Shema, give ear, here for the Rishon, for the first reading, up offering for this sabbatical, for this Shabbat. Aikeb. Shema, here, give ear, fifth book of Moses, Hebrew book that's called Deuteronomy chapter 8, warnings and instructions. All the commands which I command thee, I, this day, shall ye all observe to do, that y'all may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which Yahweh Jehovah sware to your fathers, your patriarchs. And thou shalt remember all the way which Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah the I Elohim, led thee these 40 years by Midbar in the wilderness, to humble thee, and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. And he humbled thee, and suffered thee, to hunger, and fed thee, with manna, Manu, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers, thy patriarchs know, that he might make thee know that man doth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh, of Jehovah, doth man live. Thy raiment waxed not old upon thee, neither did thy foot swell these 40 years. Thou shalt also consider in thine heart that as a man chasteneth his son, so Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah the I Elohim, chasteneth disciplineth thee. Therefore, thou shalt keep the commandments of Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah the I Elohim, to walk in his ways and to fear, to respect him. For Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah the I Elohim, bringeth thee into a good land, a land of brooks of water, of fountains and depths that spring out of valleys and hills, a land of wheat and barley and vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of oil, olive, and honey, a land wherein thou shalt eat bread without scarceness. Thou shalt not lack anything in it, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills thou mayest dig brass. When thou hast eaten and art full, then thou shalt bless Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah the I Elohim, for the good land, the Tobah land, which he hath given thee. And hear, Shema Yisrael. Hear, O Yisrael, for the Sheni Aliyah, the second offering up for this Shabbat I kept. This Sendet and Dihim Yehonal. Here, fifth book of Moshe, Hebrew book that's called Deuteronomy chapter 8, here at verse 11, for the Sheni, for the second reading, the second Aliyah, offering up for this Shabbat I kept. He shamer leka pen tishkach Yehovah Eloheka le biltia shmora miotfotayo uamisha patayo wehukotayo asheranokia mitzawota hayom. Beware that thou forget not Jehovah the I Elohim. He shamer leka pen tishkach Yehovah Eloheka, and not keeping his commandments and his judgments and his statutes. Libilitia shemora mitzvotayo uamisha patayo wichukotayo, which I command thee this day. Asher anoki mitzawaka hayom. Lest when thou hast eaten and art full, and hast built goodly houses and dwelt therein, and when thy herds and thy flocks multiply, and thy silver and thy gold is multiplied, and all that thou hast is multiplied, then thine heart be lifted up, and thou forget Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah the I Elohim, which brought thee forth out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the land of Kemet, Egypt, from the house of bondage, who led thee through that great and terrible Midbar wilderness, wherein were fiery serpents and scorpions and drought, where there was no water, who brought thee forth water out of the rock of flint, who fed thee Bamidbar in the wilderness with manna, with manna, which thy fathers, thy patriarchs knew not, that he might humble thee, and that he might prove thee, to do thee good at thy latter end. And thou say in thine heart, my power and the might of mine hand have gotten me this wealth. But thou shalt remember Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah the I Elohim, for it is he that giveth thee power to get wealth, that he may establish his covenant, which he sware to thy fathers, thy patriarchs, as it is this day. And it shall be, if thou do at all forget Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah the I Elohim, and walk after Elohim Acharim, other Elohim, and serve them and worship them, I testify against you this day that ye, y'all, shall surely perish as the nations, the Goyim, the international community, which Yahweh Jehovah destroyed before your face. So shall ye, y'all, perish, because ye, y'all, would not be obedient to the voice of Yahweh Elohim, Jehovah, Yah Elohim. And hear, Shema Yisrael. Give ear, O Yisrael. Fifth book of Moses, Hebrew book called Deuteronomy, chapter 9. Warnings and exhortations. Hear, O Yisrael, thou art to pass over Yarden, Jordan, this day, to go in to possess nations goyim, greater and mightier than thyself, cities great and fenced up to Shemaim, to heaven, a people great and tall, the children of the Anakim, whom thou knowest, and of whom thou hast heard, saying, who can stand before the children of Anak? Understand. Understand, overstand therefore this day that Yahweh Eloheka, Jehovah the I Elohim, is he which goeth over before thee, as a consuming fire. He shall destroy them, and he shall bring them down before thy face. So shalt thou drive them out and destroy them quickly, as Yahweh Jehovah hath said to thee.
When I say more, you say fire. More fire.
Why, Prophet.
Sabbatical study, this I Rastafari sabbatical study for this Shabbat strong.
Yes, let's ride out with today's daily Psalm 121. Yeah, we didn't begin from the first of the Aliyah right there, but more segue into the second for here for day 2, Aliyah day, more on the reason and some very important economic, financial precept and principles. You know, ones might say the secret of the Yehudim, so to speak, but let's study more on this Torah reading and feeding here, the second Aliyot here for the second day here on the Monday podcast. Yes, I, Rastafari. Look, Selah Tum, we ride up with the world order, Psalm 121. Yeah. Muda Baruka here of Canaan land. It's kind of interesting, you know, Muda. But anyway, we have his philosophical differences with I, but still, this is an interesting tune. At the end, he goes his prophecy in Jeremiah. But check out the tune, Canaan land. But at the end of it, he seals up with the Jeremiah prophecy, you know, calling I out of this north country. You know, it says in the latter days, you know, the children of Israel will be called out of a north country. Interesting. North America. Yeah. Canaan land.
And knew what his youngest son had done. And he that curseth be Canaan, blessed be Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant.
Now the Israeli and the Arab man fighting for Canaan land. According to the book I read, Canaan is from Ham's seed. Ham's son got a portion of land. Now where the hell Canaan portion? Abraham had 2 sons in history. They said the Arab and Israeli. 2 brothers fighting to control the land of Canaan. Esau, yes, Jacob, give me your right and take my cup. Check the facts and you will see Canaan was sold into slavery. Disappeared from the pages of time because of his father's crime. Now the Israeli and the Arab man both fighting in a foreign land. The land of Canaan. The land of Canaan. A land that flowed with milk and honey, now drenched with blood and body. Killing here, leaders, beware, beware. Jerusalem, the city of the great king. Tears and sorrow, today she brings, and now shall the mighty fall. Like a woman in labor, the land shall call. Enough, enough, you're living in time, but some things must be left behind. Fight you must for the peace of the land, but remember it belongs to the son of Am. Two brothers fighting to control the land, the land, the land, the land of Canaan. Now listen this, I tell you true, that the King of Kings have been shown to you. The King of Israel have been revealed. To open the book and to lose the seal. The throne of David shall ever stand to guide and protect the sons of Am. Two brothers fighting to control the land, the land, the land, the land of Canaan. The land, the land, the land of Canaan.
Behold, the days come, says the Lord, and they shall no more say the Lord liveth, which brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all countries whither I have driven them, and they shall dwell.
Yeah. Murder Baruch of Canaan land. He seals it up right there. Asking a very interesting question, looking at the present situation. But then he seals up with Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 3, right, where it says, but the Lord liveth, which brought up and which led the seed of the house of Israel out of the north country, and from all countries whither I had driven them, and they shall dwell in their own land. That's the outro right there. It's a curious thing indeed. And he said, the King of Israel has been revealed to you, right?
Carrying palm branches and chanting in mighty volume.
Hosanna, blessed be the King of Israel. Blessed is he who cometh in the name of the Lord.
You know we are Israelites. You know we are Israelites. You know we are Israelites. You know we are Israelites.
Carrying palm branches and chanting in mighty volume.
Hosanna, blessed be the King of Israel. Blessed is he who cometh in the name of the Lord.
Witnessed by 72 nations, that prophetic number right there. Ethiopic book of Enoch right there, 72 nations, that day, acceptable day of Jehovah of the Lord, November 2nd, 1930, a day in which Rastafari, Gustafari, Kadamawi, Haile Selassie, anointed on the throne of great King David. Coca T, what the man say? Israel's king?
Lovey, for all the tribe of Israel, who we just let them know.
Again, for all the tribes of Israel, again,
Lovey, For all the tribe of Israel, who we just let them know that Israel King is Israel God, in oneness and say, Israel King is Israel God, in oneness and say, them mama, well now, we've come to one conclusion. No more of the Babylon information. I have made a resolution. It will be the Rastaman redemption. I know. No, I know. And I know that Israel King, Israel God, and what they say, I must imagine. Israel King, Israel God, and what they say, I must imagine. Ooh, exalt the name of the King from the forest presence. We're singing, Lord, that He is the irate, and it's He who irate. Now we are the sheep of His pasture, entering His gate with praise. 'Cause now I know, Lord, I know that Israel King is Israel God, and one that them say, yes, Israel King is Israel God, and one that them say, ooh, we, the only one found worthy to release the seven seals, and the broken band that sound, and to set all captives free. Head to the King, and it's lasting, His imperial majesty. Head to the King, and it's lasting, and that's the power of the Trinity. 'Cause Israel King, Israel God, and what let them say, I must imagine. Israel King is Israel God, and what else they say, I'm not mad. Who we already know, for all the tribes of Israel, well now, we've come to one conclusion. No more of the Babylon information. I have made a resolution. It will be the Rastaman redemption. I know, yeah. I know it, and I know that Israel King, Israel God, what else them say, I'm not mad. Israel King, Israel God, and what else them say, I'm not mad. Why? The only one found worthy to release the seven seas and to break the band. Children, no respect and shepherd.
But it's true.
And David my servant shall be king over them. They all shall have one shepherd.
It is good that you are here to record this picture of me in my palace garden at Addis Ababa. People who see this throughout the world will realize that even in the 20th century, with faith, courage, and a just cause, David will still beat Goliath.
And David my servant shall be king over them. And they all shall have one shepherd. They shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I have given unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt. And they shall dwell therein, even they and their children, and their children's children, forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yea, I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know that I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. Evermore. Evermore. Evermore.
The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men.
Born again, Shalom Chavarим. Here we have today's daily psalm. We have
Psalm 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore, 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 forevermore.
Mama Africa, I love you, Africa. I will lift mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from Jah, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. He that keepeth Diana shall never slumber nor sleep. Lord is thy keeper. Jah is thy shade upon thy right hand. Sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. He shall preserve thy soul. God shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and forevermore. Most High be praised, Most High, holy and holy. Lastly I be praised, Rastafari, declare thy glory. Chant, African chant, chant. Whoa, 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 chant, African chant. Hey, I will lift my eyes unto the hills, from and with my head. My help cometh from Jah, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thy will not slumber. I know. He that keepeth Diana shall neither slumber nor sleep. Lord is thy keeper. Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. Sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time and even forevermore. Oh, God is praised.
This a kind of Jesus, I'm a Africa.
Yes. Give thanks as the Kalunji there for his rendition of today's daily psalm. Psalm 121. Jah the Helper. Jah the Helper, one of the most popular hymns, so one of the popular hymns in the Psalter. Perfect expression of trust in Elohim, the true good, the true God. This psalm, this chant, this Isis has been on the lips of countless men and women throughout the generations when they felt or feel a need of help beyond that which mere mortals could offer. It was probably said to have been sung antiphonally, and it was like a call and a response, like verse to verse, call and response by the group of pilgrims as they approached the holy city. Now, the reason being is because of the superscription of the Shir La Ma'alot, Shir La Ma'alot, the Shir, the song of the Ma'alot, of the Aliyah, the going up, a song of ascent, or in the KJV, a song of degrees. So here we have the second in the Psalms of degrees, the songs of ascent. It said that these psalms were on the lips of those who made that pilgrimage, even the B'nai Yisrael, the 3 times in a year, to the place that Hashem, that Yahweh set his name, particularly in Yerushalayim. So we have Psalms 120 to Psalm 134, Psalm CXX to Psalm CXXXIV, Psalm 120 to Psalm 134, a group of 15 psalms that are known as the Ascension Psalms. And these psalms, the Ascension, the meaning of the Aliyah, also like to go up to read the Torah reading and feeding the 7 for the Shabbat, the Aliyah day from the Sabbath, the weekly Torah portion reading and feeding, that going up to read, going up, the Aliyah, also returning to land and going to present oneself before he who be, especially those 3 times in the year. So we have these 15 psalms, and here the second of the 15 psalms right here. So I want to share this right here, kind of a 3-in-1. Touch on some of the basic intro from the Hebrew, right? Scroll to the Royal Amharic, go through a verse by verse, and hopefully catch a midrash, a study right here on today's daily psalm, right here. So first, a 3-in-1 dubwise right here. The English, KJV, the Hebrew, as well as the Royal Amharic, the HSV, Haile Selassie version here on the Buju Banton, the Hills and Valley. Yes, the why.
Psalm 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore, 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 forevermore.
מזמור קכ"א שיר למעלות. אשא עיניי אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי. עזרי מעם אדוני, עושה שמיים וארץ. אל יתן למות רגליך, אל ינום שומריך. הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל. אדוני שומרך, אדוני צילך על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יככה וירח בלילה. אדוני ישמורך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. אדוני ישמור צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם.
መዝሙር 120 በቅንፍ 121 የማዕረግ መዝሙር። ዓይኖቼን ወደ ተራሮች አነሳሁ፣ ረዳቴ ከወዴት ይምጣ? ረዳቴ ሰማይና ምድር ከሠራ ከእግዚአብሔር ዘንድ ነው። እግርህን ለመናወጥ አይሰጠውም፣ የሚጠብቅህም አይተኛም። እነሆ እስራኤልን የሚጠብቅ አይተኛም አያንቀላፋምም። እግዚአብሔር ይጠብቅሃል፣ እግዚአብሔርም በቀኝ እጅህ በኩል ይጋርድሃል። ፀሐይ በቀን አያቃጥልህም፣ ጨረቃም በሌሊት። እግዚአብሔር ከክፉ ሁሉ ይጠብቅሃል፣ ነፍስህንም ይጠብቃል። ከዛሬ ጀምሮ እስከ ዘላለም እግዚአብሔር መውጣትህንና መግባትህን ይጠብቃል።
Psalm 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper, the Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in, from this time forth and even forevermore, 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 Are ye not as children of the Ethiopians unto me, O children of Israel, O children of Israel? For with stammering lips and another tongue, for with stammering lips and another tongue, for with stammering lips and stammering lips and another tongue, for with stammering lips and another tongue, and another tongue to this place, speak to this place, speak to this place, speak to this place.
Evil boy, everything takes time.
מזמור קוף כף אלף, מזמור קוף כף אלף, שיר למעלות. אשא עיני אל ההרים, מאין יבוא עזרי, עזרי מאין יהוה, עושה שמיים וארץ. אל תיתן למוט רגלך, אל ינום שומרך, הנה לא ינום ולא יישן שומר ישראל. יהוה שומרך, יהוה צילך על יד ימינך. יומם השמש לא יככה וירח בלילה. יהוה ישמרך מכל רע, ישמור את נפשך. יהוה ישמר צאתך ובואך מעתה ועד עולם. מזמור קוף כף אלף, מזמור קוף כף אלף. Psalm CXXI, Psalm 121, Psalm 121. Yahweh Jehovah the Helper. Shir la ma'ilot, a song, a shir la ma'ilot, ma'ilot of a sense of the ma'ilot, of the going up. Shir la ma'ilot.
Esa aina ya ilahe harim. Me aina yavo azri. I will lift up mine eyes to the mountains. Esa ainai ilahe harim. I will lift up esa mine eyes ainai ilahe harim to the harim ilahe harim. Me aina yavo azri. From whence? Me'ayin. From where? Me'ayin. Yavo. Yabo. Azri. From whence, from where shall my help come? Me'ayin yavo. Azri. Azriya. Me'ayin. Yahuwah. Ose shemayim wa'aret. My help. Azri. Ezri. Me'ayin. Yahuwah. My help cometh from Jehovah. Azri ma'imi Yahuwah Ose Shamayim Wa'aret. He who be, who he be, who made Yahuwah Ose Shamayim, who made heaven Shamayim Wa and Aret. Ala yitena lamota ragleka. Ala yanuma shomreka. He who be, he will not suffer thy foot to be moved. Allah yitain, not giving, he will not give. Allah yitain, lamot ragleka, he will not suffer thy foot to be moved. Although the Hebrew negative is al and not lo, there is no need to render with RV margin. May he not suffer, may he that keepeth. Its use here is the subjective negative, with the meaning he will not, nay, cannot possibly. Al yitain lamot ragleka, he will not, nay, cannot possibly suffer ragleka, the eye foot, lamot, to be moved. He will not give thy foot. Al yitain lamot ragleka. Ala yanum shomreka. He that keepeth, that hedgeth the eye about, that keepeth the eye, shomreka, will not, nay, cannot possibly slumber. Ala yanum, shomreka. Here from the opening, help comes from Yahuwah, from Jehovah. He who be, the sleepless guardian. Hine, lo yanum, will lo ayishan. Shomer Israel. Hine. Look, see, behold, here it is. Hine. Lo yanum. Not slumbering. Lo yanum. Will lo yishan. And not sleeping. Lo yanum. Will lo yishan. Behold, he that keepeth Yisrael, Shomer Yisrael, the keeper, the guardian, Shomer Yisrael, of Yisrael, the man who sees the true good, the true God, Yasharel, the upright of El, the Almighty. Hine, lo yanum, will lo yishan, Shomer Yisrael, Yahuwah, Shomreka, Yahuwah, Sileka, Al Yad, Yemineka. Jehovah, Yahuwah, he who be, Shomreka, the eye keeper, speaking to the eye, male, Shomreka, Yahuwah, Yahuwah, Sileka, Jehovah, he who be, Yahuwah, Sileka, is the eye shade, Sileka is the eye shade, Al Yad, Yemineka, upon thy right hand, all yad, upon the hand, yamineka, of the eye right. Contrast here the mocking words of the prophet Eliyahu about Baal in 1 Kings XV and 27, 1 Kings 18 and 27. The verse proclaims the lofty confidence of the oneness of he who be, hine, lo yanum, will lo yishan, shomer Yisrael, Yahuwah, shomreka, Yahuwah, sileka, aliyad, yamineka. Yomam ha-shemesh, lo yakeka, with yareach, balayla. The sun, ha-shemesh, the sun, shall not smite the eye by day, Yomam, the days, by days, during the days, daily, Yomam, Hashemesh, the sun, Lo Yakekah, shall not smite the eye, Lo Yakekah, with Yareach, and the moon, the Yareach, Yareach, with and Yareach, and the moon, Balayla, by Laila, by night. Yahuwah, Yishmarka, Mikol Ra'a, Yishmor Tanasheka, Yahuwah, Yishmar.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Yes, brothers and sisters and brothers. Hope the item is able to hear. Yeah, what just happened right now was that the phone that we call in for the blog talk here going through the stream just had dropped. It said out of area service kind of thing like that. Sometimes this happens. Apologies, brothers and sisters. Like fulfill that reading right there. I'm here in the next little office where we had the live stream. I was on the blog talking. It just went down over there. Would like to, just see if we can fulfill the psalm right here. Don't like it to cut out just like that for ones and ones who are still here. Chant, this is just really a surprise. It just went down the way it did. So I give I one moment. I'll just grab the Hebrew. I think it was that verse. I'll find the verse. Give me one moment just to fulfill the Hebrew right here. And hopefully we'll keep it up and maybe share some of the audible from the Amharic on the new light. But hold on right here. Yes. Wow. Okay, so where were we right there? We was with Psalm, then the Hebrew, is going through the basic Hebrew read of today's daily Psalm, Psalm 121. So here, Psalm 121, scrolling to the Hebrew right here. We're at 121. Give me one moment, Chan. The sound had went out, like I could hear, the audible, and then it dropped. And I thought maybe, okay, let me click the speaker on, off, and thing. And then a message came from the T-Mobile kind of people. Yeah. Chan, it's just an out of service thing. So here, we'll pick up with, okay, today's daily Psalm, Mizmor Kaf, Aleph, Psalm 121, Psalm CXXI. The first two verses, help comes from Elohim, from the true good, the true God. Verses 3 to 4, the sleepless guardian. We touched on that right there. Verses 5 to 6, divine protection. 5 to 6. So let's touch on verse 5 right here in the Hebrew. Be'brit, Yahuwah, Shomreka. Yahuwah, he who be, Shomreka. The one who keep Ka, the eye. Here, the psalm is speaking directly, in a sense, like with HaTorah, to the male. All of Yisrael, especially the B'nai Yisrael, is one collective male. What they call in the latter-day law is like corporate law. We are all members of one body. So here, speaking to Yisrael as a son, as like one man, collectively, he who be, Yahuwah, Shomreka, Shamar, to guard, Shomreka, Shomer, the guardian of Ka, is thy keeper. Yahuwah, Sileka, seal in the, or Tsel, in some pointing, Tsel, it's like we have in them Harik as well, like the Tilla, right? But here we have the shade. He who be is thy shade. All Yad, all upon the Yad, upon the hand, Yemineka. The Yemen is like the right hand. Here, Yemineka upon thy right hand. Verse 6, the sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night.
Yomam Hashemesh Lo Yikakeka Yakeka Lo, not Yakeka. To like what's the verb? Maka, naka, like to hit, the naka, to hit. Yakeka, lo, he will not hit. Like the sun will not, where the sun will not hit you. Your mom days. Ha, the shemesh, the sun. Lo, yakeka, will not smite, will not hit the eye. Where yareach, balayla. Yareach. The Yareach is literally the moon. So the Shemesh, the sun, and the Yareach is the moon. So we say like the Chodesh, like in the new moon it's the Chodesh from Chadash. But the literal moon is the Yareach. And it's linked with even the name of that first city that the Bnei Yisrael had conquered, going around it 7 times. Yericho. Yericho is from Yarah or Yareach, the moon. With and Yareach, the moon, ba, on in Laila, in the night or the shadow state. So this verse 6 right here, Yomam ha shemesh lo yakeka, with Yareach balayla. The sun shall not smite thee or hit thee by day, nor the moon by night. So the metaphor that we have here, just going over this right here, we have the metaphor, right, of shade. The metaphor of shade is elaborate. We touched on this in Isaiah chapter 49 and 10. There's a metaphor of shade, shadow and shade, right? So there's a literal shade, but then shade is used as a metaphor. Like being in one shadow, being in one shade, like you're hidden in that sense. The danger from the moon, from the ancient times and even nowadays, there's a belief of this and, maybe even some proof of this, of lunacy due to the moon. So the ancient belief, even like with much modern belief, is that the danger from the moon was lunacy, the full moon. Now, one thing is interesting because if you study nature, there's certain times of the year, like when the moon is out, certain animals, let's see how this goes. Certain animals, during the dark times, like during the moon times, they might not, hunt so much because it's more lit. You know what I mean? But as the month goes through its progressions, there's the darker, like that darker time. But there was an old belief that the moon had the power to derange human reason. Sunstroke was naturally a common experience in those parts of the world, like, we say Far East Africa or Arabia to the south and the Levant or Palestine to the north during the subtropical summer. And this is alluded to in 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 19. Take note. 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 19, speaking about the heat, sunstroke in the subtropical summer. Since Elohim is the ruler of the forces of nature, of nature, he controls, right, them so that their effects, therefore, for Kol Yisrael, will not be harmful. Here, the final 2 verses right here, speaking of Elohim's care, his care being assured. So now, as we look through the psalm, coming to these last 2 particular verses, the opening verses, 1 and 2, this was said to be sung by the leader of the group, the first 2 verses of today's daily song, right? Then we get the next 2 verses 3 to 4, right? The remainder of the group, or perhaps another member of the group, responds with these 2 verses in that call and response sense. We get to verses 5 and 6, right? The A section of the group sings again, the one who sung the first 2 verses, right? Then when we get right here, right, to verses 7 and 8 to fulfill today's daily song, Mizmor Kof Kaf Aleph, the response of the other half of the group. So like if you have a group and 2 parts of the group, the first 2 verses, the A group, second 2 verses, the B group, then back to the A group and the B group right here. So here, verse 7, The Lord, from low degrees to high degrees, the Lord shall keep thee from all evil. He shall keep thy soul. Yehovah Yishmarka Mikol Ra'a. Yishmor et nafsheka. Yahweh, he who be, shall keep thee from all evil, shall keep thee. Yishmarka. Yishmarka. Now, see how it's pointed? Yishmarka here is saying that he who be will keep, right? Then we had in verse 5 where it says that Yahweh, Jehovah, he who be, is your keeper. Shomreka. Shomreka. So the pointing do matter. Shomreka. Shomreka. Right? So here we have he will keep, he will guard, he will, like the Hebrew, old sense of the Hebrew shamar, that we say to keep, to observe. In a more literal sense, it's like the hedge about. In a kind of an object lesson sense, it's like a rose. A rose is beautiful. But did you know that the thorns basically hedge it about? The thorns protect, in that sense, symbolically, the beauty of the rose. So the sense of the shamar, to hedge or to keep or to guard, is like, to hedge about, like with thorns. So this is a sense, can bring out the sense of how he who be will keep thee, keep I and we, me call from all, me from call from all, ra'ah. Evil in the Hebrew sense is that which is hurtful, that which is harmful, that which is ill, that which is sad, that which is bad. Right? Not just in a religious kind of evil sense, but that which is hurtful or that which is even harmful. Yahuwah Yishmarka Mikol Ra'ah. Yishmor, he will, Yishmor, he will keep et nafsheka. He will keep thy soul, thy nefesh, et nafsheka. So here we have Elohim's care being assured, this section here. So when we say evil, ra'ah, it has a hard, it's different than the soft sound of re, right? For example, we have two words in Hebrew, and why we don't say this in English. In English, they don't use guttural sounds. Think about How to Make a Slave, the Willie Lynch papers. It said controlled language. There was a section of it called controlled language, where they said that the enslaved Hebrews, right, that they would not give them, first of all, they would prevent them, like crush their own language, like eliminate their language. We don't want them to understand or speak their language, and then to give them a poor understanding of English. So when we look at the word ra'ah, and even the pronunciation, we have ra'ah is evil, and re'eh is to see. So thus, even appointing the nuances is very important. Word, sound, and power, bending light. But here, ra'ah is calamity, is brought out as calamity. The addition of all, when it says me call, it doesn't say just me ra'ah, from evil, from hurt, from unkind, from harmful, from ill situations or people, person, places, things. But here it says me call from all. This points to the comprehensiveness of the divine protecting power. Life exposes man, the human being, all of I, to a great variety of haps, what they call haps, and a great variety of mishaps, right? But no one is beyond Elohim's sheltering care. In the word sound right here. Keep thy soul, the sense of Yishmor et nafsheka. Yishmor, he will keep, et nafsheka, the I soul, to guard thy life, to guard thy liberty. He will keep her, he will keep she, the soul. Verse 8 here, to complete today's daily psalm, according to the royal order. Here, Psalm 121, Mizmor Kof, Kaf, Aleph, the chet verse, the 8th verse. The Lord shall guard thy going out and thy coming in. I just have to pause here. One of our favorite word sounds that the elders, from back in the days, Rastafari elders, is this verse here in the Ayabingi and the chant, like it was like almost like when we would trot out the house, it was like a word sound. If one trot out the house, you'd be like, Cha, guard, you're going out and you're coming in. And also when we seal up, one's going to them homes. But here it come from this psalm right here, 121 and 8. Yahuwah Yishmar Seitika Uboeka Me Ata Wa'ad Olam. Jehovah, Yahuwah, he who be, Yishmar, Yishmar, shall guard, Yishmar, Seitika, Seitika. Now, Seitika is like if I'm speaking to a man and he's about to like come out of here, like he's, you know, he's in the gates right here, he's about to come out of here. So his Seitika, his Seiat, Seiatika, Seitika. This is what we call the Exodus in Hebrew, the Yetziat, Yetziat Mitzrayim. And in the Metzaf Kedus of his Imperial Majesty come from the Ge'ez, the second book of Moses of the Bible is called the Orit, stands for Torah, Orah, Torah, the Orit, Ze, Se'at, Se'at. So we have these common roots here, Se'at. So Se'at can be your exodus, you know, like you're coming out, you're going out. Jehovah shall guard thy going out, thy exodus, and Seitika. Yahuwah Yishman and Seitika. And Boeka. Boecha, Voecha, Voecha. In modern Hebrew, Voecha. In more of the ancient pointing, Boeka. Boeka. And your bow means to go, like you're going forward. Boe, you know, Boe, you're going ka, speaking to the eye. Yahuwah Yishmar Seitika Uboeka Me Ata Ata. O word used like almost like for now. It has a sense of now, or it can be used in a sense of time, like ito, like time. But here, like ata, from like now. It's almost like they say from now, from ata, right? In modern Hebrew, they use the term what akshav, right? Akshav. But here, the old Hebrew uses ata to say like now. Me ata, and from now, we'ad, v'ad, we and ad. Ad is like the word od. When we say ain od malvado, like there is none other. But here it's in the sense of like continuance, like and going forward, olam, and going forward the world. Right. So from now and going forward world, and some might bring out the sense of in this life and the life to come, like we say olam haba, right, or olam hazeh. In other words, you have to decide about what you're living for. Are you living for the olam haba, the olam, the world haba, right, the world to come, or are you living for the olam hazeh, right? Are you living for this world, right? So here the sense has a sense of from now and going forward world, but it's brought out in the sense of forever, right? To time indefinite, the going out and the coming in. Thine and I affairs and undertaking, looking at all of our affairs and undertaking as either I going out, right, or I coming in. You know, I going out, I coming in. So this here is not just a literal sense. It can be applied in a literal sense, the one making tribe and coming back to where they tried from, but also all of our affairs, right, and all of our undertaking. What's interesting here is that Deuteronomy chapter 28, chapter 28 and 6, and chapter 31 and 2 also speaks to the same theme of one's going out, right, one's exodusing, and one's entering, right, one's exit and entry, one going out and coming in. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and 6, and Deuteronomy chapter 31 and 2. So going out, once again, the Seitika, Se'at. Seit and Se'at. The going out refers to man's departure from his home to attend to his daily avocations, his occupation or whatever labor, whatever biznaps he got going on. And the coming home now, right? The boe, right? The boeka, right? Thy coming home is one's return to their gates and the affairs of one's household. So there's things that we have to do outside, business outside, and then we come forward and things we have to do when we reach home. So in the psalm, in the mizmor, in the chant, the Isis, there may also be an implied allusion, right? An implied, like it's alluding to the dangers of travel that's incurred in the pilgrimage. Since this is the second of the pilgrimage psalms, right? The second of the pilgrimage psalms or the ascension psalms that were said and that, according to the context, are proper to be said on one's trod to the Holy Land. So, in other words, it's like if I and I going forward, we're going up, say we go up to Ethiopia, for example, you know what I mean? And one do the Aliyah, go forward. So, as one is trotting forward, you know, or even flying upon the plane, you know, is these psalms here, the ascension psalms, as one is actually going up to Jerusalem or going up to the holy place, climbing that mountain. Remember, Zion was the first stop, and then was the temple of Jerusalem. So it was like a whole event, you know, it was like a whole event for all of Israel. So the psalm is alluding to that there are dangers also in traveling. So one's traveling forward, right, to the place that Yahweh, that Jehovah set his name, you know, to worship, and then also returning home from the pilgrimage in those 3 times in the year. From the time of setting out on the journey, so it's covering, it's like iridical insurance to cover the time of setting out on that journey to go to the Holy Land, to go to the Holy Temple, as it were, in Jerusalem pre 70 AD, and also the time of its completion when you return home and you reach your gates. From this time forth and forever, also contained in some other Psalms, 115, verse 18, right? 115, verse 18. It might be another number over because we're looking at the Hebrew here. Once again, brothers and sisters and brothers, looking at the time right here, seeing that we're now on the live stream directly right here. The blog talk has ended. So once again, just today's daily psalm is Mordkof Kaf Aleph, Shir Ha Ma'alot, Esa Ainai Eta Heharim, May Ayin Yabo, Ezri, I will lift up my eyes to the mountains, from whence Me'ayin Yabo, Ezri, from where does Ezri my help cometh? Ezri Ma'in Yahuwah, my help cometh from. The sense here in the Hebrew is from with. Ma'in, my help. Ezri Ma'in, from with. It's showing the intimacy. He who be, who he be. Oseh Shemayim Wa'aret. Oseh Shemayim Va'aret, who made, Oseh, the maker of Shemayim, the place of the upper celestial waters, and the Aretz, and the earthly plane. Al titena lamota ragleka, ala yanum shomreka. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He will not give. I love the Hebrew here. Al titain. Titain, he will give, or he gives. Al, not yitain. Ala yitain, he will not give. Lamot, to movement. Ragleka, like suffer your feet to be kind of rock, your steps to be shaken. Ala yanum. Ala yanum. And not, and he will not slumber. Shomreka, right? Shomreka, the one that keepeth the eye. Hine loa yanum, will loa yishan, will lo yishan. Hine, look and see, here it is. Lo yanum, not him slumbering, right? Will lo, and not yishan, 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 like not slumbering, the sense of like not some slumbering and sleeping. So he doesn't slumber, you know, people dozing off, and he doesn't then go like in a sleep. Shomer, Shomer, the keeper, the guardian. Shomer, the keeper of Yisrael. Shomer Yisrael. Hine loa yanum, will loa yishan. Shomer Yisrael. Yahuwah Shomreka, Yahuwah Silka, al Yad Yemineka. Yahuwah Shomereka, Yahuwah Silka, al Yad Yemineka. He who be is thy keeper. Shomreka, he who be Silka, the eye shade. Al Yad, upon the hand, Yamineka, upon the hand of your right hand. Like saying upon the hand of your right hand. Your mom ha Shemesha Loa Yakeka, where Yareyaha Balayla. The sun shall not smite or hit thee, your mom, on days. So for days, daily. The sun will not hit you by day, right? Or daily. Where Yareyah Ba Laila. Where Yareyah Balayla. Nor the Yareyah, the moon, Balayla, in the night season. Yahuwah Yishmar Ka Mikol Ra'ah. Yishmor eta nafsheka. He who be Jehovah will keep the eye. Yahuwah Yishmar ka mikol, from all ra'ah, from all the rara. Yishmor, he will keep et nafsheka. He will keep thy soul. He will keep her. He will keep her. Yahuwah Yishmar Seiteka uboeka me'ata wa'ada olam. Jehovah shall guard, shall keep, right? Thy going, seateka, thy going out, that exodusing, uboeka, and thy entry, me'ata, from now, even now, we'ada olam, and to the world, or and to time indefinite. Yes, I give thanks and praise, brothers and sisters. We're going to seal up right here. Thank you for the eyes, ears. I hope this word here, strengthens the eyes, way, truth, and life in the King of Kings Christ. Yes, I. Shalom, Chabarim. Shalom. Yes, I. Yeshua, shalom.